But today, my hope is to, as I said, give a little peek behind the curtain of how I plan my sequences and how I organize my classes, and the sort of core principles that inform why I do what I do when I do it as I'm teaching. Because if we're kind of experimenting with this idea of expanding what we teach to be beyond style, so beyond a vinyasa flow or a yin or whatever hybrid is coming out of all of the different styles of yoga that have developed. What if we were to say, okay, all of that is great, but why are we doing each one of those things? And when is it most appropriate to practice in this way? And when is it most appropriate to practice in this way? Because I don't know if you've noticed a little something that happens with your students, that the folks that might need to be in a vinyasa class are in the restorative. And the people that are in the restorative might need to be in the vinyasa class. So we have this tendency to go towards more of what we like and more of what we already are. And so bringing in and informing practices with Ayurveda help us as teachers to learn how to wisely and maybe even a little bit sneakily put in the medicine of the opposite. So how to give the person that's in the restorative class a little bit of the heat that they might need that actually might get them what they're hoping for from coming to yoga, and the other way around, the person that wants to do the hot flow in August, how they might benefit from some of the aspects of the cooling, calming aspects of, say, a restorative or a slow flow. So I'll be talking about the principles that inform how I choose what I choose for Ayurveda, and how I choose what I choose to be informed by the Yoga Sutras, and a core principle of the Yoga Sutra that makes it so that I'm applying philosophy in my class without philosophizing in my class, without moving into the mode of preaching at people when they've come to do some flowing and to get out of their head. We don't want to put them back in their head during the class, but how can the choices that we make be informed by the wisdom of yoga philosophy, that if you are here, I assume you love it and you want more of it, and it informs your life in some way. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about how to use your voice as a teacher as your main and most powerful tool. So this is an important thing as we're talking and thinking about teaching as a career, or doing this for something like the long haul, or being able to teach as we're aging, things that we used to do, but maybe don't need to be doing anymore. So how to be able to use your words to convey what you know about the poses. And the most simple way to put what I'll be talking about is how to speak action in classes. So there can sometimes be this search for how to say something that gets really creative and what I would call flowery, in a way that is maybe metaphorical, or bringing people into imagery, and not in a way that, that this is the right way or this is the wrong way to do it. But if we're thinking about getting people out of doubt and out of their heads and into their body, and in their yoga class we're trying to speak to their body and teach to their body in a way that bypasses the mind, which if you do any study of the mind, you know that we want to bypass the mind. It's a little bit of a dumpster fire in there, and we're trying to contain it so that we can begin to process and understand what's going on in our unconscious. But in a yoga class, most of what people are coming for is to have an experience in their body. So a way of providing that for them is speaking action. And that means bring your right foot here, bring your left foot here, raise your right arm over your head. And there's all sorts of ways that we can get more and more refined and technical with our cues that allow us to do something that is sometimes a little hard for yoga teachers to do, which is shut the mouth. Not talk, give space for silence in your class, and not be talking out of compulsion, but actually be saying something every time you're giving a cue. So how to really continually refine what you say and why, so that everything is going towards the goal of your class. And that is something that we'll talk about today. So today's flow has a particular goal, and that allows me to talk about all of these principles through the lens of what we're going to do. So we'll have the sequence, which is a sequence that is Kapha-Pacifying. So it's an Ayurvedic focus for this time of year. So a class to help us thaw out and get a little heat in these joints and get moving into spring, because springtime is the qualities of Kapha. So I'm speaking about the doshas, and I haven't taught about the doshas yet because all of you are teachers, and I assume there's been some sort of contact with the 3 doshas of Ayurveda, but maybe not. So over here on the board are the 5 elements of nature, and they are the core of the 3 doshas. So the earth and the water make up Kapha. So this is going to be a class that is applying opposite qualities from earth and water. So earth and water are, you can think of like mud, and Kapha is like the force that holds earth and water together. So it's thick and dense and heavy and wet and dull. And these are all its qualities. And this is the kind of thinking that Ayurveda brings us into. What are the qualities of this moment? What's happening right now? And what does it feel like? What is it like in essence? So we're out of theory and we're into like, okay, hard, right? Soft. We're into the actual physicality of what right now is like. And so because we're doing a Kapha-Pacifying class, all of the accents that I'll have in class about pranayama, with my cueing, with my tone of voice and my presentation, everything about me is going to become to pacify vata. And so because it's heavy and wet and dull and coming out of winter and really gonna get on it, dusting off the mats, right? Gonna get to it because it has those qualities. We're applying hot, dry, light, subtle, all of the opposite qualities of that to provide this medicine of the opposite. So I'm really only able in our context to give this quick brush over these concepts, but I'm hoping to have it be a little introduction, then an application and an experience of, and then I'll write down the sequence and we'll talk about how the sequence has applied all of these things that I'm talking about, how it's informed by the Yoga Sutras and a concept called Vinyasa Krama, how it's informed by Ayurveda to become a Kapha-Pacifying class, and how I used my words and my cues and my voice and my presentation to support those efforts, to get you guys in some handstands maybe, I don't know, or however close you want to get to it, and to have this also side benefit of pacifying Kapha energy, or getting things moving again. So everything from the time of day this class is, to, again, my tone of voice and how I'll be presenting and teaching, to the sequence itself and the way that I'm creating sort of some disruptive qualities to move the dense, dull energy of Kapha. Everything about what we're doing is moving towards these aims. And then we'll break those down afterwards so that you can start to see how these sort of become, I like to talk about it in teacher training like if we as yoga teachers were like DJs and we're creating this experience or this playlist, of a flow, which somehow creating playlists has become a side gig for yoga teachers. That and stick figures, didn't really expect that, but that's what we're doing. So how the class itself and all of these different ways that you can create little adjustments and create little effects and energetic impacts in your students by how you're teaching, what you're teaching, when and why. And so these are tools to get you thinking that are more along the lines of a method than something that you're just memorizing and learning and doing. So you're not just learning a sequence and how to cue someone into alignment for Warrior One, which is an important thing to do, to have clear communication and how to do that. But you're also learning how to break down a Warrior One so that every single thing, every choice that you're making in the class is building up towards that. So really cutting a lot of things is what ends up happening, because the more postures that we do, the more opportunity there is for nothing to really land, nothing to really settle into the system or touch the nervous system and the body in a way that we want to in class. So repeating postures and developing things slowly is something that you'll experience in the class. And everything that we'll do in the class is putting the joints in the position that they'll be in for the posture that we're building up to. So whenever I'm looking at a pose that I'm having as my goal, I'm breaking down all of the actions that the joints are taking in that pose, and then I'm preparing those joints to make those actions, and then possibly make those actions in load bearing, and then possibly make those actions in load bearing what upside fucking down, right? So there needs to be a whole lot of preparation where you've felt how to do it when you're in a safe place, when your body can activate in a way that allows it to soften or make adjustments, when you have the support of the floor, learning how to take the actions slowly, progressively, building in a way that goes from what's the most simple to what's the most complex about this, and building in a step-by-step progressive way is what I'm doing when I'm applying the concept of vinyasa krama. How to organize this in a very special way that's going somewhere. That's not haphazard, that's not everything, that's not just, oh, I'll throw in a Matsurachandasana or whatever right here, right there. Okay, I'm gonna move this person from not having this knowledge of their body to having this certain knowledge of their body through how I'm revealing it with the movements. So it's not about what I'm saying, like, aren't you feeling this? And when you're like this, you should feel like this. It's not that. I'm not telling them how to feel or you how to feel. I'm inviting a feeling by a very particular posture and a very particular way of engaging and activating. So I feel like I've introduced enough, but let's start to do a little bit of preparation while I continue to explain a little bit more. So Ashley, will you come up here? Ashley's going to be our demo for the class, and eventually when we get into it, we'll all need some, possibly some wall space. So you can just slide your mat right here. So in the yoga method that I have learned and now train other teachers to do is based out of the Circle Yogashala in Arkansas. And it really spoke to me because I had come in my previous experience through a performance training background. So it was really applying all of the things that I knew that science had researched and found to be the best methods of impacting fascia and impacting the nervous system and wisely training the body towards a very specific goal. In the case of yoga therapy, that very specific goal is an upright, pain-free walking gait where you're not using any extra energy to just exist. So that's universally the therapeutic goal that we have for our students in one-on-one work. But in a general yoga class, we're trying to give enough of something so that there is something that has been learned from what happened. So I'm using handstand to teach a braced activation and what bandha is really all about. So through the class, I'm teaching bandha, but I'm not talking about bandha. I'm not saying, and now mula bandha, everyone, you know it, go. I am putting the body in positions that create the activations of Mula Bandha. So Mula Bandha can be felt and experienced, and then maybe I'll say, and this action that's happening here is Mula Bandha. I'll refer to it from then on out, as then on out, to remind students. So teach the actions, give a cue that is a reference point, so then I don't have to teach it every time. Now I have this reference point to start. And so everything I'm doing in the class is building on itself in that way. So hopefully by the end, you'll do it, you'll feel like you have what you need to try to play with some moving upside down. So that is leading towards enough stability and enough courage in your students that are gonna do something maybe that they've never done before and get energy moving in a way that it's never moved before in their system. So anybody have any questions? Okay, so we'll start with some soft tissue work. That's one of the first principles that was kind of not really in my field of awareness in a yoga class to incorporate, but it really helps prepare the main tissues that are going to be used in the class. So we'll start with our hands, because in handstand, you're about to ask your hands to do a lot of stuff that you have not been asking them to do. And so we'll start with this place that the thumb and the first finger meet, and just palpating in there. And there's lots of sensation available. And as we're doing soft tissue work, you can do this with all sorts of different tools, but we're hunting for tension. So you're palpating to try to find the places that feel most dense and maybe even a little tender, and then holding some consistent pressure there. And maybe taking a deep breath. And then you can, once you find a place, you can move across the muscle fibers, so you can feel for what the muscle fibers actually feel like in your own hand. You can move across them, and it's kind of like playing a guitar string. You'll feel them move under your hand. Or you can go with them. So that depends on the sensation that feels right to you. And then move on and find another spot after you've made a little bit of impact. And we'll do a little bit of soft tissue work in the hands. So just palpate around between the fingers. Try to broaden your hand as much as you can. Maybe rub the base of the heel of the hand with your thumb. Good, and switch hands. So if you were doing the left hand, do the right. Now the left hand is on the thumb, between the thumb and the first finger. And so this is a really simple way to start to come into sensation. So you've been doing a beautiful job listening to me and giving me your attention. And now we're slowly transitioning to you having your own attention and being able to just take these cues and really be in your own experience and your own sensation. And the effort that I'm making with speaking action with my cues is so that you don't have to look at me for a demo. You don't have to look at Ashley for a demo. She's here for the camera. You can do it based off my words and be deeply in your own experience as we're going. Good, and then move into the hand. And we'll begin to move into a mode of practice, and I'll invite you to bring a particular bandha to your mouth as a way of maintaining a certain quality of attention throughout practice. So the action that you'll take is the tongue is flat and broad on the roof of the mouth, the teeth are slightly parted, and the lips touch. And then, as if you had a hard candy between the tongue and the roof of your mouth, add a gentle, consistent vacuum action, like you were sucking out the space between the tongue and the roof of your mouth. And so the mouth stays closed all throughout practice, and this action of the mouth invites the nostrils to open. So now we're inviting that action to remind us to keep breathing through the nose. And I'll give you reminders throughout practice to do this over and over again. This is called Jiva Bandha, and it's the bind that brings freedom. So, cool. Good, and now we'll move with the first hand back and get the forearm. So in the same way, palpate the forearm. And you can kind of get into it a little bit with more pressure and moving around the density that you find in this tissue. Good, switch sides. Okay, and now take the first hand and extend your arm like a stop sign, and then pull your fingers back. So now we're moving into a cold stretch. This is moving the joint that might be restricted or have the most difficulty in the posture practice that we're going to do in the way that we need it to move. So now this is organizing the fascial structure around the joint in a particular way after doing the soft tissue work. Good, keep going. And switch sides. Good, and release and come to your feet. Shake the wrists and the hands. So shake them towards the centers, up and down. So you know a joint is in good shape and healthy if you can really throw it around. Good, and now up and down. Bye, both hands. Good. Bring the arms down by your side. And we'll bring the arms back behind you and up and back down. Good. So just a reverse circle with both arms. Feet stay still. And once you get the motion, start to pick up the speed. And take it to the speed that feels okay for you. Remember Jiva Bandha in your mouth position. Good, switch directions. Start slow. And the invitation is to take it however fast is right for you. So as fast as you can. I'm going to stop. You keep going. Faster, faster, go. Good. Pause, arms down by your side, step wide, twist side to side. We'll call this a Tai Chi twist from here on out. Good, and step back to center. Both arms up overhead. Watch me first. Both arms up overhead. Right arm forward, left arm back. Start slow. Pick it up as you can. Right arm forward, left arm back. Every time you get lost, come back to the start. Good.
My arms don't work this way.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all in that very first movement is how you'll kind of be able to get the pattern down. So just know that making the effort to learn the pattern is strengthening the relationships between the sides of your brain. So even if it feels like it's not going well, it's going well. Good. Come back up to center. Left arm forward, right arm back. Good, so guard against both arms coming forward or going both back. Bring them back to the start. One forward, one back. Good, last moments. Whew, all right, bring your arms down and step wide, Tai Chi twist. So try to keep your hips forward and let the shoulders rotate and the shoulders, arms relax. Go ahead and step to center, let your arms hang at your side. And take a few big deep breaths. Take a focal point in front of you with your eyes. And take Jiva Bandha with your mouth. And have a silent breath, as silent as you can, that fills the rib cage and the lungs first. So everything that we're doing, again, is a particular intention. So that includes the area that I'm having you breathe into first. So fill the lungs and the upper back, and then let it fill down. I know it's different than kind of the common belly breath, but try it. Exhale's passive, it just happens. The emphasis is on the inhale into the rib cage, especially the space behind the heart. So see if you can expand the upper back and shoulders with your breath. Good, keep that breath into the chest and upper back first, and then it moves down. And on an inhale, bring your arms overhead, and on an exhale, exhale out of the nose, throw the arms forward, inhale, arms overhead, exhale, throw the arms forward. So let your arms really fling as much as they can, all the way overhead and then back into extension behind you. Really let the knees bend. Good. Next time you come up, let your arms float down to your sides. Broaden the palms and ground through the four corners of your feet. Lift the front hip bones and breathe into the space behind your heart. Fill the lungs in the backside first. Very good. Transition onto the floors with your backs positioned in a way that you have overhead space. So you'll want to be able to get your arms overhead. So it doesn't matter if your heads are towards me or away, just that you can really have a lot of overhead space. And get to your back as quick as you can, and then bring your arms out to a T position. And try to clear all of the overhead space. Lots of room, so move your Stanley, move your notebook. Good, and bend the elbows to make goalposts with the arms. So the wrist, elbow, and shoulder are all on the floor if possible. If not, see if you can lower the elbow a little bit or bring the wrist a little further out until wrist, elbow, and shoulder all can be in contact with the floor. So once you get there, then find how high can you have your arms overhead and wrist, elbow, shoulder in contact with the floor. Find that place. Good. And then breathe into the chest and the rib cage, Jiva Bandha. Legs are relaxed and soft. Arms are in a passive stretching position, moving into more and more of the overhead space. So as you get more room in the chest and the underarm, keep inching your arms further and further into overhead flexion. Start to make the inhales more vigorous. Bring air in to the lungs, fill the rib cage in the front and the back and the sides. So now there can be some audible inhales happening. Bring air in, fill the lungs, and then just let the exhale happen. See if you can feel pressure, fullness, especially in the upper back and the lower lobes of the lungs. Full, 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 full. Keep going, big breaths in, big inhales, fill, fill, fill. Good, keep moving into the overhead space. Really good. The whole body's relaxed, legs, feet, arms relaxed. Keep the breath moving in. You can soften the inhale a little bit, but keep it into the ribs and the lungs first, and then the belly. And begin to gently lift only your head, as though you were trying to lift your whole face towards the ceiling, and then set it back down. Only your head moves and lifts, just the face, and see if you can lift your face like an inch or two. Chin stays towards the center of the throat, extension through the back of the crown of the head. Try to keep Jiva Bandha in place and have as much control over the movement as you can. Control as you lift and as you lower. Less is more here with the amount that you're lifting. As you can feel, it can be quite challenging. Find the amount of challenge that's right for you on the next lift and hold. Keep the face soft, the mouth position in place. And on an exhale, lower your head with as much control as you can. When your head comes down, gently turn your head side to side. Bring your right foot flat to the floor and your left palm down by your hips. We'll be doing a very specific core activation. So the right arm's up overhead, the right foot is flat on the floor. The left hand can tuck into the area of the low back. So you bend at the elbow and tuck the hand behind the low back. This is to help guide a neutral lumbar spine as we go through this sort of technical exercise. So on an inhale, fill into the lungs just as we have been. And on an exhale, lift and float the head, just as we did. Keep the head lifted and brace through the abdomen and lift and float the shoulders and the arms, as though you were just trying to barely lift and float them. Good. Come down. You're only lifting everything just about an inch or so. So you're keeping a neutral, long core. Good. Lift the front hip bones and then lift and float your left leg. So just about an inch, it hovers. Your hips stay down. So your hips are down, your right foot is flat on the floor. And this is to create a bracing action through the core so that the ribs move towards the back body and the front hip bones lift in a way that create gentle pressure down on your left palm under your leg or under your low back. Good. Lower everything down. Switch sides, bring the opposite arm up, the opposite foot up. Take a deep inhale into your lungs and take these step-by-step instructions. So deep inhale, fill. Exhale, lift the head and float the head and shoulders and arm. Good. So this should create the initial bracing action where you're no longer really having space to breathe into your belly. Your whole torso is engaged. Keep filling the lungs into the underarm and reach the arm overhead. And now lift and float the right foot as though you were standing on that right foot. So activate your foot as though you were standing on it, but don't hyperextend the knee. Good. So a strength standard for this would be to hold it for 3 minutes, maybe even 5. So this is a deep core brace engagement with the floor supporting you. On an exhale, come out, switch back to the other side, or actually bring both feet flat to the floor, your arms out to a T, and heel toe your feet out wide as your mat, and let both knees fall to the right, and your head turn to the left, and then back up to center, and down to the other side. Good. Keep moving side to side in this way. Breath still fills the lungs first. We'll refer to this as a windshield wiper from here on out. Good. Next time your legs are down to the left, pause. Head is looking to the right. Really ground into your right foot and activate your right glute to extend through the front of your right or upper hip. So you use the floor to press and lift the hip so that you're in deep hip extension. You can drive your knee down and away from your right shoulder, long from knee to shoulder. Good. Switch sides. So you're both bringing the knee towards the arch of the lower foot, so letting that foot drop and put the knee towards away from your shoulder so that it's long through the quad and the front of the hip. Go ahead and come back up to center. Extend the left leg long and bring the arms overhead. So find whatever position you could find that your elbows, wrists, and shoulders were all on the floor at the same time. Very good. And now lift and float the head as we have. So create that bracing action through the torso with the lift and float of the head. Very good. Keep your right foot down and lift your left foot. And keep lifting it till the sole of the foot points towards the ceiling. Good, and then bend the knee, straighten the leg back out. Do that a few times. Can relax your head down if you need to take a rest and lift it back up as you can. Good. Next time you bend the knee, place your foot down next to the other and extend your right leg long. Lift and float it as though you were standing on it, and then lift all the way up as though you were placing your sole of the foot on the ceiling. Bend the knee and straighten it a few times. Keep trying to pull the toes closer towards you. Good. Place the foot down, extend both legs long. Relax completely, soften. Reach your arms as far overhead as you can, lift and float the head. Bend the right knee and bring the right knee up over the hip. Good, and then straighten the leg from here, extend it out and down to meet the other so the leg stays long. Good. Switch sides, so ground the right heel, left and bend the left leg, knee over hip, then to straight, then extend long. Good, keep flowing side to side in this way. Arms are overhead, head can float, shoulders can float to add more of a challenge in the core. So everything is coming straight up towards the ceiling. So knee points towards the ceiling and then foot, and then extend it out and down. So as you're doing so, try to ground the heel of the leg that's still on the ground to keep the glute engaged of the lower leg. So as you do this, try to brace the core so much that there's no side-to-side shifting happening. And your arms are overhead as they would be in a handstand. So you're reaching into the overhead space. Good. Next time both heels are down, bend the knees wide on your mat, windshield wiper the hips. Turn the head the opposite direction. Bring your arms down to a T position, so let your arms rest out wide. And the next time both your knees go down to the right, pause. Bring your awareness to your left foot and try to swing your left foot up and around and kick it towards your right hand. So you're kind of taking a leg swing up and across. Good. Bring it back, place it, and then windshield wiper to the other side. Then add the swing with the top foot up towards the left hand this time. Good. Keep moving in this way, side to side. So windshield wiper to a leg swing. Don't be shy about getting a little elasticity to this movement. So really kind of kicking your leg up towards your arm. So this is a movement to compensate for all the bracing that we've been doing through the course. So all the activation in Bandha, you can let all that go and just kind of move into some rolling and sweeping. Can you get your foot towards your hands? Can you give your neighbor a little hiya? Good, come back to center, extend your legs long. And everybody sit up and look towards me for a second. So we'll have a little demo. Arms are overhead. My knee is gonna come up over my hip. My head is gonna lift, shoulders gonna lift, just like we've been working on. All of this is creating this brace action. So if you're not sure if you're doing it, as you're doing it, it would be if I had my fingers here and you're taking the action, it's like pushing my fingers out of your abdomen so that it's hitting your core engaged. Head's lifted, lower leg is lifted, arms are lifted. All this is in place, and then you're going to roll to your side and balance. Come back to center. Roll to the other side and balance. Whoop. And back to center. Leg comes out, everything relaxes down. You'll need a little bit of a rest. Switch sides. So it's called a hard roll, and it's not called that because it's easy. But it's teaching you to hold the brace of the core, and you'll have to use your head to be what gets you to roll. So you'll want to heave something or heave, and you're trying to find the motor control through the deep core to have that action come from the head. Okay, you try. Lay on your back, arms overhead, right knee comes up over hip, foot is activated. Both feet are activated as though you're standing on them. Lift and float the left leg, lift and float the head and shoulders. Find a way. Roll to one side, find the balance, good, and then control it back, and then to the other side. Control it back. Try one more time either way. So try not to get momentum. It's about control. So as you're going from one side to the other, pause. You may find a few times your core like disengage and engage again. It's trying to find the stability to do this for you. Good. Next time you come to center, extend the leg long. Bend the opposite knee, do the other side. So try not to push with the heels. You find the movement from your head. Everything else is lifted off. Good, and back to center. And extend your legs long. Relax for a second. Then bend your knees, feet flat to the floor, windshield wiper your hips. You can add the swing if you like that. Next time you swing to a side, you can go ahead and keep rolling over and come to all fours. Let's have everybody face your heads towards me. So we reviewed the actions of the core that we'll need. Now we'll review the actions of the hands and the stability of the shoulders that we'll need to confidently float into our handstands. So all four corners of the palms are grounded down and the hands are right underneath your shoulders. palms are broadened with minimal muscular effort. So you're trying to create as much surface area on the floor as you can. Try to keep the palms of the hands down also the pads of the fingers down, and then squeeze the pads of the fingers towards the palms so the middle knuckle lifts up just slightly, but the palm stays down. So it's kind of like you're trying to get a grip on the floor. So if you can't see it, look towards my hands here. I'm gripping the floor, but keeping my palms down. Good. And then grip the floor and hold that in place. And then as though you're trying to open a jar with your right hand, twist the elbow forward, but don't move the hand. So you're going to twist your hand to create the action of your whole arm moving so the elbow points forward and the scapula sit down the back. Then you'll do the same thing with the left hand like you were trying to tighten the jar. You're trying to turn the hand both at the same time to external rotation. Okay, so release that, all of that with the hands. Feel what happens in the shoulder. Everything lets go. Now engage through the hands, squeeze the floor, and twist the arms open on either side. You'll feel the whole shoulder girdle turn on and engage. So this is the kind of stability that we have to be able to weight bear in the shoulders. So find minimal muscular effort with all of that. So you're doing it, but you're not overdoing it. And then remember the actions of the core that we did. So remember the brace action and lift the chin towards the center of the throat. So the back of the head now is moving towards the ceiling. And you'll try to find that same neutral lumbar spine as we had in the crunch on the floor. So there's a lift of the front hip bones towards the low ribs. Really good. Okay, keep all of that in place and lift and extend your right leg behind you. So the sole of the foot is coming to extend like you're standing on the foot. So your toes stay pointed towards the floor. Your heel is what's driving back. And it's like you're standing on that leg. Good. Bring it down and switch sides. And do that several times side to side. And try to take out any shift that happens laterally or right to left as you switch sides. So you do that with how much you're pressing the arms down and engaging the core so that there's no dropping out of the hip as you extend your leg back behind you and then switch sides. Good. Keep Jiva Bandha in mind, the head ramp, chin towards the center of the throat. Good. Next time, both hands come down, sit back on towards the heels, interlace your fingers, and just roll the wrists a little bit. Okay, come back down, back to all fours. Tuck the toes back behind you. Remember all the actions of the hand, gripping the floor, external rotations. Toes are tucked, lift and float the knees. Good, and lower. And do that a few times. Now we're finding that all of that bracing action that we've been training on the floor here in all fours. So lift and lower. The lift doesn't have to be big, just an inch or 2 or 3. And you're trying to keep your shoulders and your head and everything above the waist super, super stable. Soft bend in the elbows and that external rotation with both arms. Good. Next time you tuck your toes, hold. Good. Walk your hands back, come into standing. Bring both arms overhead, circle the shoulders forward. Oh, snuck that up. You're up. Good. Switch directions back. Good. Bend your knees, walk your hands forward, back to all fours. Look towards me. Without thinking too much about it, we're going to combine those two movements. So your leg is extending back just as it did in that half bird dog, and you're kicking, coming up and lifting the knee. So it's both happening at once, and you're starting to get your arms into the weight-bearing overhead position. Good, so keep flowing side to side in that way. Try to look back at your toe, ensure that it's pointed down. Your hips are staying closed towards the floor. So you don't open the hip. The glute stays on, and extend that leg back behind you with the toes pointed down. Anytime you find that you need to take a break for your wrists, you could walk your hands back, stand up, shake them out, or you could sit on your heels, twist the wrists, shake them out a bit, then go back to the flow. Try to also remember Jiva Bandha, and be aware of where your eyes are looking. So they're looking between your thumbs, and then as you lift up and back, they're looking towards your back toes that are on the ground. And maybe also breath into the rib cage and the chest as we have been. Good. Next time you come down to all fours, lower down onto your belly, take a leg out to the side, bring your head to your hands, rest, but keep breathing into your ribs and your chest. Notice your heart rate and your breath rate. Keep your awareness on your chest and your lungs. Recover intentionally. Fill the lungs completely, full, and then let the exhale happen also through the nose. Jiva Bandha is in place. Keep filling the upper back and shoulders with breath. The lungs move 60% back. Fill it. Explore that. Could switch sides with your leg and turn your head the other way. intentionally recover. Breath rate starts to slow as you catch your exhale. Keep filling the lungs first, then down to the belly. Next time you inhale, fill all the way up. Pause with the inhale in. Inhale again. And inhale again. And then exhale. Do that 2 more times. Inhale to full, and then take 2 more big inhales. So that it's like you're pressing the capacity of the lungs, expanding them, and then softening the exhale. Very good. Release the double or triple inhale. Take a few steady breaths. And press back up to all fours. Look towards me. We'll do everything that we've done up to now. With the hands and the arms. This is where you can go to the wall and where we'll start seeing what's possible to add a little float, so you can take the edge of your mat to the wall after I do the demo. So again, not thinking about it too much, taking all those movements at once, and then a little float to hop back down. Don't think about it too much. So you're just trying to see if you can get a little float, like a little lightness. That's what you're shooting for. So worst case scenario, you'll flap onto the wall or come back down, but just try to play with seeing if you can get a little bit of a float off the hop of the back leg. Quick, don't overthink it. Go! You can use a wall or a pole. There's a spot right here. Anybody can go right there too. Just move the shoe rack. Come on. Just a little float. Okay, so start in all fours, heads towards the wall, hands placed well. And take a few of the flows like we already did, just coming up and kicking your leg up. Good, so you lift your knee, and you end up in kind of a 3-legged dog, and then back down. Find that. So if this is where you want to stay and you just want to keep refining, making that really smooth, just coming up to 3-legged dog, and then getting light on your back toe. How much lightness can you have on your back toe and weight towards your hands? And then if that feels light and you're ready to take a little hop, take that. Really use your back leg to kind of get you a little bit of height and a little float. Good. You can always take time in hands and knees or in child's pose to recollect yourself. And switch from side to side. Remember, the external rotation of the hands will give you all that shoulder girdle stability that you need for weight bearing here. Good, I love it. Woo! Beautiful. Good, so make an effort to do whatever you're doing long enough to get your heart rate elevated. So get yourself a little bit fatigued and then come down and rest, and we'll have another few minutes to try it. You get 100% of the benefits from the effort to do it. This next time as you're going, see if you can shoot for a little bit more float. So I know that my right leg is my stronger leg, so I'm going to go to my weaker one to try to practice that one a few times. And the more you use your back leg that's going up to kick up, the more you might catch a little bit of float or lightness, air time. Remember now all those activations that I've been showing you all class. Remember Jiva Bandha. Okay, very good. Come onto your all fours. Sit back in child's pose. Bring your forehead to the floor. Breathe into your upper back and shoulders, the back side of your heart. Then come to lying on your back with your head towards the center. You could grab anything that you need to keep you warm for Shavasana and into a meditation.
No, thank you.
Yeah, you might have enough heat on your own. That's what we're doing. So we'll move through a couple different styles of body scans or embodied awareness during Shavasana. So on your next inhale, bring your awareness down to your feet. Sense your feet, the soles of your feet. The ankles, calves, shins, knees, thighs, hips, so sense this area of your body related to earth, feet, legs, base of the pelvis. And water, the pelvic bowl, the hips, the sacrum. And take the light of your awareness there. Sense and feel the movement happening inside of the stillness. Move up to the area of the solar plexus and the abdomen, the area of your body where you keep your fire. Breathe in and down as though the breath now coming to the belly could stoke and expand that fire. Could even use your powers of imagination to picture a fire there, a bright sun, a bright campfire, any image that comes to you of fire, sense it at the belly. breath flowing in and down towards the flames or the bright sun in the abdomen, and then allow the breath to move upward into the space of the heart and the space behind the heart that we've been developing and expanding, building our awareness. Invite air to fill you, low to high, side to side. Expand and surround your heart. Keep breathing in and down, filling low to high, and let your awareness flow up to the throat, the area of the space element. See if you can feel the air pass through the space of your throat as it moves in and down. Then include the space of the face, the ears, and open the ears to listen wide. So you hear my voice and all of the sounds of the room with an open, wide listening. Keeping this awareness on wide listening, become aware of the crown of your head. And in the same way as you opened your ears to listen wide, open the crown of your head to receive the descending love current. And with your attention on the crown of your head, inhale and fill belly to chest. And as you exhale, scan your attention down your body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. And as you inhale, scan your body from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head. Include yourself in your wide listening as though you could listen with all your senses directed towards the self. To see and know yourself through feeling. The next time you inhale up to the crown of the head, exhale and simultaneously feel the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands. Sense your whole self at once. One felt sense. In a relaxed way, and keeping this inner attention, roll to one side and come up to a comfortable seated pose. If you Want to bolster, grab one, or I'll bring them around so to prop your hips.
Thank you.
Get settled in a comfortable seated meditative pose and aligned your spine with some dignity. See if you can keep that extension through the back of the crown of the head, a gentle upward movement. Find Jiva Bandha again with your mouth. And close the eyes gently. Begin to notice the rise and fall of the rib cage in the chest as you breathe. Inhale, the rib cage lifts gently. Exhale, the rib cage lowers. We'll be moving into some technical instruction of some subtle actions. Do your best with them, but don't obsess or worry. The next time you inhale and feel your rib cage gently lift, as you exhale, keep the rib cage lifted. Don't let it drop. Give yourself a few breath rounds to find that action. The rib cage gently lifts as you inhale, and as you exhale, it stays gently lifted, and the breath fills inside the space. As the rib cage stays lifted, as you exhale, gently pull and tone the low belly in towards the back body. So now the breath stays confined to a small space at the mid-torso. Maintain the lift of the rib cage and the tone of the low belly, and bring your attention to the crown of your head. Maintain felt awareness at the crown of the head, and also feel the front and back of your body and the sides of your body. So feel all around you. Again, sense the crown of your head. And as though you could open it to receive the descending love current. Bring your attention down the forehead, eyes, temples, nose, bridge of the nose, cheeks, jaw, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacrum, perineum, occupy the root at the perineum and continue to extend through the back of the crown, reaching gently upward. Allow your rib cage to continue to lift and lower, or to return to lifting and lowering, so you can stop making the effort to hold the rib cage up. And then become aware of the sounds in the room and outside the room. And slowly begin to open the eyes. Keep a soft gaze, but open your vision to be wide. So take a single point of focus, but also see the room and everyone else in the room. As you begin to bring your attention outward, see if you can split your attention to maintain an inner awareness on your felt sensation, while also opening up to take in the outer environment. Holding both in your awareness. Bring your hands to your heart in whatever way feels comfortable, meaningful to you. We'll finish class with a chant for peace. We'll do so for a few minutes. I'll begin the chant and you can join in as you feel comfortable or just listen. I'll begin with one time and then you can join in. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samastas 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 sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Last time. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be free and know peace. We'll finish with an Om and 3 Shantis. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A moment of silence for your own prayers and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you for practicing and taking care and being here. I see you. Namaste. So we'll just take a baby break for bathroom, and you can grab water or tea, and then we'll meet kind of over here around the sequence.
Because the first time I checked people in on mind body, it was a disaster, and I had to call Sunny 3 times.
Except that it wouldn't work when you tried to do it from the link.
No, it wouldn't. You were there for that. Yeah, no, it wouldn't work.
No, I mean this wouldn't work.
Oh.
Like trying to sign into this one wouldn't work from the
Really?
link.
I
No,
know.
not for either one of us.
On the online thing?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Really?
Call Sunny.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I will give Sunny that feedback.
Oh, I
Yeah.
told her.
Oh, okay, good.
I was like, I'm trying to sign up and I can't.
Same with me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I also didn't know that on the wellness app that it was in the store.
Yes, it is in the store.
So I was able to do it from there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Because I never, for Jessica's, I've never used the app. I've always just logged in through the website.
See, and I've always used the app from Jessica, because that's what she made me download right away.
Yeah.
She's like, here's the app, this is how you use it on my little orientation day.
Yeah. These are more of those side things about being a yoga teacher that you
Yeah,
don't
you're
really
like,
expect.
oh, I
Like,
have
oh, I'm a software expert?
Now,
No.
yeah, exactly. It's like, let me troubleshoot this real quick and figure out
They-
why this isn't working.
They didn't cover
4
this in
minutes before I do
YTT.
So let me call IT. Okay, that's me.
Yeah. So true. Well, beautiful. Thank you all so much for your effort and practice. It was really fun to see you all give it a go and maybe get a little bit of airtime, a little lightness. So I've got the bones of the sequence written down here, and I don't know if we're on the same page as far as our hieroglyphics yet, but these little markings indicate a wave or a flow between these two movements. So the beginning here is the soft tissue work that we did on the hands and the forearms. Then it went into cold stretching the wrists. So again, that is about preparing this joint to go into the position that it's going to be in. And there's a way to choose which one you're going to attend. And for me, it had to do with wanting to emphasize the arms and the shoulders and the weight bearing that happens in handstand, because that is an aspect of Kapha-Pacifying. Kaphas, they don't want to do that. Bear weight on my arms, it's heavy. So just a little bit of that medicine of the opposite to force that strength building, because this is the chest and the lungs are what's called the seat of Kapha. So Kapha can be pushed on there. We can talk about it in that way, that we can breathe into there, we can move the shoulders and back into a little bit of back bending and big flexion to, in a way, stimulate this area, which is going to stimulate Kapha. Each of the doshas has a different seat. So if we're trying to pacify Vata, we're going to push on the seat of Vata, which is in the colon. If we're trying to work with Pitta, we're going to push on the seat of Pitta, which is right here at the center of the body. So that would be some aspects of twisting. So these are how we can use posture choices to impact the energetic effect of the dosha in the class. So in addition to pushing on the seat of Kapha in the class with everything that we were doing to stimulate, I was also saying, like, okay, get up and now get down and swing your arms like this and then back down. And this disruptive quality is intentional for Kapha, because they're like, well, okay, I'm up. And then the elasticity of the movement and the fastness of the movement, another thing to stimulate the Kapha quality. Is that making sense for everybody? Just that this is just like a flavor or a touch on how I'm using choices to have a specific energetic effect for the dosha. Does anybody have any questions about that?
What do you call this style? Elemental flow? Is that what?
Well, I'm trying to talk them into circle yoga, but it's really a whole method. So it's not exactly a style. We're using techniques. So before on the board, I had it written down, the 5 techniques, because in general, there's a big umbrella of Hatha Yoga. And I'm applying the 5 techniques of Hatha Yoga in different proportions to create a different style, basically. So a different energetic effect. So let's say the primary series of Ashtanga. That has been someone who is masterful made those particular choices to have a particular energetic effect. And then they're like, all right, this is the sequence, go, everybody do it every day. Okay, so that was informed by all of this. But now we're opening that up and we're looking into why. Why would we do this particular, why would we hold stillness here? Why would we have movement here? Why would we hold it for this long? Why would I use that tone of voice? Or why would I use this tone of voice? Or why would I be like, keep going, don't stop? Right? Because that's for Kapha, because Kapha wants to stop. And I'm going to be a cheerleader and say, don't! Do it! You can keep going! You know, that's how my affect is going to start pacifying that particular dosha. And there's one for all of them. So I have tended towards saying it transcends style because it's the information inside of why you do long holds for restorative classes to get a particular energetic effect. So it makes it so you can start taking a class and not having it just be one particular style. And I call them elemental flows because I'm adding in all of those different aspects to create a particular energetic effect. In this case, this scenario is teachers who have some context for what I'm talking about, so I can be a little bit more advanced with what I'm doing because I can assume some prior knowledge and because I called it advanced. So there's that set of things, and then it's early March, middle of the day. You know, we're all, you know, I don't know how to say it other than this, middle-aged women, you know, we're so there's a certain set of scenario that this situation presents that I'm using this method to create an experience in. Does that make sense? So it was developed at the Circle Yoga Shala, and we say things like we don't want to create a style because that's going to bind it in and create some sort of set sequence or some sort of dogma around what's happening, but that's not what we're after with the big picture of it. We want it to be setting you free. We want it to help you be more creative, less bound, and have a deeper understanding of the essence of these things and why you would do what when. So this preparation is to push on the seat and to prepare the shoulders and the wrists to do what we're going to do. And then the way that vinyasa krama, or this arranging in a very particular special way, which is how the Yoga Sutra teaches us to go, and I tend to think of is sort of the essence of what makes yoga trauma informed, because we can know about what happens with trauma and that you know, there's certain responses that happen whenever there's been abuse or difficulty in someone's life to certain stimulus, but that doesn't mean we know how to go. But we do know how to go when we apply vinyasa krama, because we know how to go in a gentle, gradual, step-by-step way. So we introduce something and that gets integrated and understood before adding another thing and adding another thing and adding another thing. So the class overall has an energetic flow like this. We're starting slowly, we're adding complexity over time, then we're compensating, and then we're bringing it all back down. So each class has a little wave of its own. That is how I'm choosing to build step by step into being like, all right, now they're gonna hop on one foot and jump onto their hands, right? Okay, go. What if I started with that? It would be like, well, lady, no. But because I broke down all of the actions and everything that was going to happen and kept the breathing consistent, kept the compensations consistent so that there wasn't new stimulus, new inputs, and I just added step by step to getting you jumping on one foot onto your hands, you know, with maybe a little float. And so that experience and not having your head get in the way too much is what I was after with progressing things in this very particular way. So the windshield wipers and the twists were compensation because everything was really bound with the core, with learning to brace. And then developing the action of the leg in bird dog and the action of the hands in all fours gives you a lot more support for how to do that. And then because it's a Kapha-Pacifying class, I gave some technical aspects, but really I was just like, all right, now go! Keep going, yay! Don't stop! Keep going! So that's the part where there's continued reinforcement of the theme or the energetic aim of the class throughout. So I didn't get you all the way here doing all of this stuff and then change it. I just was quiet, right? And I let you do it. I actually erased the board and was doing something else because everything had been addressed. You knew what to do and how to do it, and then you could be free to do it instead of being bound by my words anymore. So that's really my goal as a teacher, is to build the sequence so gradually and so progressively and so clearly that by the end of it, everyone in the class knows the flow and they're doing it on their own. To me, that's a sign that some embodied learning has taken place, because I'm not having to be like, and now step your foot through, bring your left hand down, now sit up, now take an inhale, now blink. You know, there's freedom to what's happening in the body, but within the confines of these choices that I've made that were very specific and intentional. So that's how Vinyasa Krama is applied to developing the sequence to make it step by step, gradual towards a specific goal. And then throughout class, did anyone notice me touch anyone? Or really, have to do too much specific adjustments? That's because the whole time from the very beginning, I was speaking the actions that I wanted to happen in the body, and I was continually reinforcing them over and over and over again, continuing to reinforce where to breathe, how to have the mouth position in place, reminders of all the activations, but not going and touching someone to do it myself. And the reason that we at this yoga school add so much emphasis to using your voice, we say that if you want to do an adjustment, first time, voice it. Second time, voice it. Third time, voice it some other way. Because when you go and you give a manual adjustment, the student isn't taking the action. So they're not actually learning how to do the action in their body. They're learning to be dependent in some way on someone else to come and say, no, crank their hip and say, it's like that, right? Keep that. And then walk away, and it usually is forgotten quickly because it hasn't been embodied in a way that it's felt how to take that action. So as a teacher, I put the responsibility on myself to find the words. What are the words that are going to get this action to take place in their body? And that takes a lot of refinement, but what that does is it makes it so I wasn't doing a whole bunch of handstands in here. I wasn't having to do that class that you guys were doing because maybe I have 4 classes today. And that's really hard on your body. And because you're only doing some poses and not doing others, you're just hopping in and out of class, and that wears and tears on your body. And so we can't forget about ourselves and taking care of our body for the long haul. And if it comes to be that you're injured and then you can't teach, that's really bad for business, right? So finding a way that you can teach and developing the skill to be able to vocalize and verbalize everything you want to teach is how you'll be able to really keep that going for a long time and see your students. If I'm practicing, I'm not seeing what's happening in my students to find that I need other words because it's not happening, the thing that we want. I know it's not happening, but now the challenge is on me to find where to give the engagement activation cues so that it can happen. Does that make sense? So there are adjustments, and we can give different adjustments based on dosha also. So people respond differently based on their energetic profile, and so you would give a different type of adjustment to someone who is Kapha than you would someone who is Vata. And so those are the types of things that in teacher training we're going into. How do you wisely apply adjustments that are going to benefit your students, that aren't about you being the one that gets to go around and make everybody feel good and show everybody how to do it right, but are really about your students embodying the actions that we're trying to teach in the class. Anybody have any questions about any of that? Yeah.
I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
So, but I want to do it.
Yeah, cool.
What was really hard for me was I've never had breathing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a new way of breathing, up here I'm focusing on it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, do everything else and then be like, because I'm so used to belly.
Yeah, yeah.
So is there...
Yeah, so that was a part of the I guess we could say advance. What would make it advance is that I'm kind of pushing on you with the way that I'm making you breathe, because there is it's like adding load by the complexity and the difference of the breath. A chest to belly breath sometimes it can induce something that feels a little bit like anxiety, but we should be able to breathe in lots of different ways. We don't want to just get locked into one. And so it's requiring all of you to do it, and that's what I want. It's requiring all of your attention to be able to breathe in this way, and it's kind of creating this inner friction, and that's the tapas that we're trying to create in practice. So it's intentionally sort of a choice that I made, one, to push on the seat of Kapha, because a pranayama in the chest and in the upper back is going to push on that seat. And for Kaphas, it's going to be like, now, where's my belly breath? Where's my restorative class? So it's going to create that. It's a fine balance of giving your students what they're wanting versus what actually might be of the most benefit. And that's why at the beginning of class, I was saying, man, if any of you want to tell me how you feel like later this afternoon or tomorrow, I would love to know, because that's how these things take place. Like, you'll notice the effects of this practice in the next hours and days after this, and try to feel like, oh, was my kapha pacified? Did that have some energetic effect? And I'll just keep wondering because it's just the nature of it that, it's like.
Is this a practice that's good for everyone, even if you are of a different dosha? I'm very Vata,
Yeah, well,
Vata.
because it's the
And
time,
so
because it's this time of year, it's kapha, everyone's under the weight of kapha, because we're in the late winter, early spring, where everything is wet and melting and thawing. So there's a quality that could benefit everyone. And we all have all of the doshas. This is sort of a way where you can start to be informed about, oh, I'm teaching a class in the fall, late fall. I'm going to really need to make that Vata pacifying, because that's the Vata time of year. And say you're teaching it to a particular population that tends to be Vata, which is like anytime I go into a workplace or things like that, I'm usually focusing on pacifying Vata. So you're kind of figuring out how to make choices that are going to be okay for everyone, but they're having a particular energetic effect. And so I chose Kapha because it's going to be appropriate for this time of year and this time of day, and it's one way I can show you some of the particular ways that you can modify and refine your teaching to create a different effect. And so some of the things might not look like a standard yoga flow that you would do for kapha pacifying. Because of that, we're not like sequencing the flow to be so smooth, because kapha already has the qualities of smooth. We've got to make it a little bit rough and disruptive to get that energy moving, that heavy dullness moving. So everyone has it all the time. We're all like coming out of flu and cough season, and so it's not going to be bad for anybody, but it will impact some more than others.
That was exactly my question. Like, what if people need that? They need more kapha.
Yeah.
Not for it to be pacified. But I understand what you're saying. We all have all of those doshas.
Yeah, and this particular time of year, and there's a time of life for each different dosha. So it's Kapha early in life, Pitta middle life, Vata towards the end of life. So if you're teaching a class at a senior home, then you would definitely tend towards the Vata pacifying. So it's a way to be able to extract all the information and apply it towards your decision making about the environmental factors of your class, which can even be like location, because it's way drier in the desert, right? So we'd want to have a more wet quality to our class to add some medicine of the opposite to that. And so this aspect of getting into the Ayurvedic qualities and applying that to your teaching, that happens in the 300 hour at the Circle Yoga Shala. The 200 hour is really getting into the bones of vinyasa krama and sequencing, and is really aimed at beginners and being able to teach really effective classes to beginners. And then in the 300 hour, we're slightly beginning to bend it towards therapeutic applications and Ayurvedic influence. And you're learning a sequence that is really cool and really useful, and I use it all of the time and have used some aspects of it in this class, but not a whole lot. But you know how there's the sun salutation and the moon salutation, or the Surya Namaskar and the Chandra Namaskar. Well, my teachers at the Shala have developed the evolutionary namaskar, or a salutation that's based on evolutionary development of all the movements that we do from being a baby and lifting our head and looking around to stabilize the deep core, all the way up to standing. And so by moving in a flow-like manner through all those developmental milestones, it can create corrective strategies happening right inside of the flow of developmental milestones that were missed. So a lot of times people's asymmetries or compensations that you're noticing in class that you don't, you're like, oh, how do I cue from that knee? What is happening there? You see it and you recognize that something's not right about it, but you don't exactly know what or how to solve it. This developmental sequence really puts all of that into perspective and helps you make the right choices in your sequencing depending on the population. So what you would do for professional athletes would be different than what you would do for a bedridden person. And so we're starting to give you that range to be able to make choices for where someone is and what their compensations are. And that all comes through that evolutionary namaskar. And all these teacher trainings take place on a homestead horse rescue yoga farm, is what I call it. And it's a training facility for yoga teachers, and so everything is set up. The dining hall is where part of the teaching happens, and then there's several different teaching spaces. And the 200 hour happens in 4 long weekends over the course of the year, and the 300 hour happens in 4 long weekends over the course of the years. And then it moves into a yoga therapy program where there's 2 additional modules and practicums to help you learn to apply this therapeutically one-on-one with your clients. So learning to do assessment, both Ayurvedically and biomechanically, so that you can essentially prescribe a very specific practice for a very specific person with very specific goals and conditions. So it's moving it out of the general and into the applying yoga to the very specifics of each individual. And so the 200 hour really gets you the foundation for teaching great classes to beginner. The 300 hour moves you into really making these sort of more detailed and informed choices, maybe more therapeutic based group classes being the aim, but moving towards one-on-one therapeutic work. And then after the yoga therapy program, you're really well equipped to do the full assessments and corrective strategies for your clients. So all of that would be about a 4-year thing, but the yoga therapy program starts at the 300 hour and then moves into 2 more modules over the course of 2 years. So it could be done in about 2 years. So whenever I came to the Circle Yoga Shala, I was already a yoga therapist. I was already trained all the way up, and still out there clueless, not really sure why I was choosing what I was choosing or how to make the choices that would most benefit my clients. And through going through these programs, really felt like I had those tools now to not just be making random choices, but apply a method and test that method and keep progressing students pretty infinitely based on where they're at, not based on where it would be cool that they are, but actually getting them to the place where big changes take place in the way that they feel because some corrections in their dysfunctional movement patterns are taking place. So you can learn more about all of those at circleyogashala.com. So that's all the YTT stuff. And then I offer online home yoga programs. So programs if you're wanting to just really focus on your own practice. I have a 40-day program that takes you through all of the different elements and it is really applying all of these concepts over the course of 40 days so that it can really create quite a transformative experience if you're able to really devote yourself to it. And that's called Elemental Flows. And then you can find a link to put in your email here, or you can give me your email after class, and I send out one yoga class a month via a YouTube link to your inbox so that we can keep practicing together. And you can reach me through there via email. And I would love to hear from you how this was for you.